Hi Aries, this is your forecast for the month of September 2018. This is a general reading for Aries Sun, Aries Rising, or Aries Moon. For a more rounded overview, please watch your rising and moon sign as well. So Aries, this first week of September, you are very focused on the material, the physical, and holding on to something. You may feel very possessive, very territorial, whether that's about protecting yourself in some way or what belongs to you or something of value. You are trying to maintain control. Maybe you want to block any change, or you want to maintain the status quo, or you're being extremely cautious in not rocking the boat. But you're seeking some kind of guarantee, whether that is to keep things the same, or maybe you're having some kind of involvement with financial institutions, banks, or wealthy people. Either you're seeking that guarantee or they're seeking that guarantee from you. So the issue is on financial security, what belongs to you, your ownership, and perhaps gaining in some way monetarily. Now, for some of you, this is a tie to a Capricorn person, but also there could be this excessive concern for, holding on to every dime to the point of selfishness, or, maybe you're hoarding something, or you're keeping something all to yourself. And so there's some elements of greed. It could be that you yourself are ultra conservative. You're blocking any new ways of thinking or being. You can't relax. You can't let go, whether that's of a material something or the way you're viewing a situation. So you may be very cautious this week. For some of you, the focus is on your investments. Maybe you've inherited something, or you're getting some type of gift, or you're trying to establish yourself in some way, a business, an enterprise, a venture. For others of you, you're closing off to the outside world or to someone in particular. You're setting some very definite boundaries because you want to protect your heart. So this could be a week where your values are very important, how much something means to you, how attached you are to it, what lengths you're willing to go to protect it and keep it. And there's also a focus on creating some kind of new beginning. Maybe you want to renew something in relation to property. It could be a contract or an agreement, maybe insurance. Maybe you're refinancing, maybe you're redecorating, repairing, renovating in some way. It could be that, you've been withholding affection and the focus has been on some new beginning of a relationship. For others of you, you're protecting yourself. You want to heal. And if your mind is on this scarcity mentality, it could be that this is a week where you need to become more positive about your outlook on life. So you are looking at where you are perhaps operating in the extreme. Have you been fiscally reckless or irresponsible in some way? Or have you been too stingy or tight, whether that's with your money, your time, your emotions, or your resources? Now, this could be a very good week to renew some business contacts, to explore some new possibilities for yourself that would open up better employment, greater financial security. And, this is a week for you to be very realistic, to use your common sense, to be down to earth about a situation and see it clearly. And that's going to help you as far as handling your business or dealing with other people. And because you are practical and can see things clearly, it may enhance your relationships with others. For some of you, this is about, taking on responsibility. It could be that there's some kind of issue. Maybe it connects to healing or property where you're having to take on the burden of other people. Maybe you didn't expect it. It could be that there's some kind of illness or some kind of situation that requires you to take on more fiscally or emotionally or as far as your time. For some of you, you're looking at business, and maybe either you're self-employed or you're working at a company and things are not playing out quite the way you had hoped. Maybe there's some kind of snag or setback or some delays or some issues on the job that make it difficult for you to advance. Maybe, it could be something of yours medically or emotionally that you're dealing with, and that is becoming problematic for you as far as your security. Now, again, there's a tendency toward selfishness with this card, and it could be that you've gone out of your way to turn your back on other people, that you're focused on, getting everything for yourself, your own financial gain, your own priorities, your own concerns, and you're no longer able to look at a situation objectively. And so when you feel that security is threatened, you blow something out of proportion. So this is going to be a week where you're going to face the music with regard to your values. You may end up realizing that you've been managing something very poorly, or, you're dealing with somebody ultra conservative, or you've just been putting some burdens on yourself because you want to accomplish and achieve so much, or you're trying to avoid something or close yourself off to something. And so, in the negative, this could be some unwarranted fear of poverty. It's that scarcity mentality that you just can't get past. Maybe, you're working on a project and there's some problems with your budget. Maybe you've overextended in some way, or some poor management, or you're not getting adequate payment for your services. So for you, there could be a fear of failure that is driving some selfish decisions. It could be some wastefulness. You're maybe spending money unnecessarily, spending frivolously, misusing your resources. So you're going to have to look at, your bottom line this week. And maybe whatever it is you're trying to hold on to, whether it's a circumstance or a relationship or an attitude, what is that costing you ultimately? Is it going to give you a return, or have you now reached the diminishing point where you're putting more investment and ultimately it's costing you more than it's worth? So this again is about your value system. Now, the second week, you are taking stock of something. Maybe you are assessing your property. Maybe this connects to taxes or the assessment of, what changes you need to make in business or your investments or your property. You're looking at what you've been doing and how much time you've been putting into something and whether you've been getting something back. So you may take a direction change this week depending on what conclusions you draw. For some of you, you've been working very hard, you've been trying to expand your business, and now you're starting to see those seeds sprout. There's some slow yet steady growth for you. And so you're having to have patience this week. In some areas, things are moving more slowly than you would like, or someone connected to you. Maybe, you're waiting on the bank or some investment to yield. Or maybe the bank is waiting on an answer from you, or somebody's waiting for you to do something. So there's the reevaluation of something and waiting for some kind of results. And because this is a pentacle, it's likely that it's tied to some kind of practical skill or service or a long-time project. So there could be some frustrating delays that require your patience. There could be a lull during the development, and you're having to carefully consider this tightrope of risk versus security. Now, for some of you, things are tight. You're not getting the proper respect or recognition or the pay. Maybe you're unemployed. Maybe you're working without pay. You're putting in some time and energy and waiting to see if something is going to pay off. And it could have been something that, is so long in coming that you're ready to give up. You feel like maybe this is just a failure. I've been wasting my energy, my effort, or I'm looking at this thing and something is missing. So there could be a difficulty in getting some kind of yield from something. Or maybe, you were so cautious that you failed to pursue something that could have been profitable. Now, for some of you, maybe you're getting some investors in your business. You're making some plans and you're patiently working on something. But for others of you, you may feel like, you want to give up. Now, it's going to be a fine line between whether you're giving up too soon or it's time to give up. This is a knowing when to hold or when to fold. So you're taking a closer look at your pursuits, your endeavors, your relationships, and where all of the value has been going. Your time, your money, your energy, your emotions, and what you're getting out of it. Now, you may have this taking stock where you are connecting with somebody and you realize, well, you see the value of what that person is bringing to the party. So you gain some mutual respect for one another. You could be getting some help. Maybe this is to pursue some kind of dream, or you're getting some guidance about how to make something happen. So you're focused on your aspirations this week. And it could be that, again, you've been putting in so much hard effort and trying to keep that boat from rocking, trying to maintain that status quo, that by this week, if just the smallest thing goes off track, if somebody says one negative thing, or you find that you have a hurdle to cross over, or there's some confusion, and it doesn't matter whether it's a big thing or a small thing, that could just be the last straw for you. You just break and take out your irritation on somebody else. And it could also be, again, remember last week, because you are so self-concerned, you may not be able to view things in an objective manner. And so somebody's holding on to something. And it could be a grievance. It could be a complaint or a worry. And the worry stems from fear that either you or somebody else is at risk, and that's going to threaten your security. So you feel like something is in jeopardy. Again, maybe it's because somebody's ill or there's some company issues, but something is at risk. And so this is a week where maybe you're thinking about, hey, I'm at a dead-end job. This is going nowhere. And you're worried about your finances. Maybe you were, frivolous. You were taking a risk or a gamble and you lost. Maybe this is a week you decide that, something you're involved in, you just have to abandon it. It's not going to yield. Could be some missed opportunity, again, because you were being so cautious or so overly self-concerned. But for some of you, this, maybe you're trying to protect your health. This could be a week where you're doing some assessment of an illness or an infection. You feel some anxiety about something, and likely tied to your connections with others. You may be realizing where you've been unrealistic about something. And so this could be a week where you have to really change course. Maybe you have to get some more money from somewhere, maybe a bank or an investor. Or you're restructuring your budget, you're looking at, how you've been spending money and where you need to make some changes, or you're protecting yourself in some relationships that have been fruitless, that haven't been, giving you anything on any kind of level. Now, the third week, we have water energy. This could be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising, male or female, or perhaps just the traits of this king. And this is somebody who is in touch with his emotions. This could be a father figure, somebody who is willing to offer you some good advice, somebody who's very caring, generally a supportive influence where there is protection, concern. Maybe somebody is willing to take on more responsibility. It could be that you're making an assessment of how much more responsibility you can take on, or somebody is doing that for you. So this is a week where somebody may be seeking comfort, and it's about being honorable and doing the right thing. This person, looks at the world with old-fashioned values. They believe in traditional support. Now, this could also be a week where, listening to something, whether that's somebody giving you some feedback on something you're trying to do. Maybe you're involved in some kind of negotiation. If this is a health issue, maybe you're coming in contact with a doctor or a professional advisor or a judge or a lawyer, anybody who can advance your cause. And so, it could even be a good friend of yours. This is about trying to impress someone or improve a situation. Or, in some cases, maybe you want to defend yourself, especially because you're being very protective. You may be trying to get an assessment of how to protect or defend or preserve your situation. So this is a week that focuses on being sensitive, being caring, and you may be coming in contact with somebody who is in a caretaking capacity or very service-oriented. So there could be a lot of discussions this week that center on the emotional, the psychological, being intimate, sharing close feelings. Now, you may start to realize that you are carrying too much of a load, or somebody connected to you. Maybe this is about mutual support, or you sharing support for somebody. If this is a relationship, you're looking at where perhaps you've been closed off emotionally and where you need that human connection. You need that intimacy. And maybe there's someone in particular that you care about, or you care more about this person than you even realized. You're coming to terms with how you truly feel, and it's likely that that person feels the very same way that you do. So this is having that intuitive, empathic connection to another person. Now, in some cases, this is about not knowing when to say no. Maybe this is struggling with practical situations, being very indulgent or being passive or passive aggressive in some way. So for some of you, there are issues of faithfulness, of loyalty, or the failure to maintain an intimate relationship because one of you has been closed off. It could be no longer being objective and giving excessive power to your emotions. So this is about doing this assessment, especially if you've become intimately involved with somebody and now you're thinking about, was that the right decision? Maybe I went too far. Maybe I regret being intimate or close to somebody. Or this is like totally closing off and being oblivious to something. Maybe somebody feels powerless or victimized, or they want love, but they don't know. It's been so long, they don't even know how to get it. Now, for some of you, maybe you've been involved in something where the relationship or the connection is complicated. Things are very complex and you're not finding your relationships to be very rewarding. And it could be because somebody's immature or somebody is deceptive or insincere. So you may find yourself tangled up in some kind of alliance where there's some manipulation or some treachery, selfishness, ruthlessness. Maybe somebody's trying to escape something, and they could even go to the extreme of escapism through drugs or alcohol, or you may be making an assessment of where you've gotten some bad advice, or where there's some dependency issues, or somebody is totally all about themselves. Now, the Seven of Pentacles got his back to the King of Cups. So there could be issues, waiting to get some kind of support, and somebody trying to hold on to every dime that they have, or trying to hold on to their possessions they don't want to share, or an assessment of where, you were hoping to connect to somebody on an emotional level, and one of you was closed off. So this is a week about empowering yourself emotionally in some way. And there's some very strong, intense desires toward something or someone. And you may be trying to put forth your own personal power in order to manifest something, a plan, a dream. And if you've been passive, this could be a week where you need to take charge and take the initiative of that. Or maybe you're connecting with somebody who can push you forward, give you some advice, support you, or you're dealing with somebody whose intent is to undermine that. Now, the last week you have this Nine of Wands. So somebody is very determined, although they are struggling. And there seems to be this theme of defending yourself, protecting, and, being militant in the process if necessary. So you may be fighting for your rights, your reputation, trying to protect your assets, trying to protect something. And that may be driven by an inferiority complex. Or for some of you, maybe you're waiting to get some advice from the doctor. There's a poor immune system and you're struggling with your health. So this is all about strength, whether it's emotional, financial, intellectual, physical. You are very determined to stand your ground, and there could be some obstacles that you have been facing where you're having to maintain that courage and try to push through a situation, whether there's been a delay or a lull or a setback. Now, this could end up being overly defensiveness. Again, maybe you're not being objective about something. You're on guard because of some prior conflicts that you've been involved in. Again, it could be you're waiting and there's a necessary delay because of circumstances, but there is the anticipation of some kind of result. And although this is a victory card, it means that you're working hard to get to that finish line. You are struggling and you're wondering yourself, can you pull this off? But the truth of the matter is, this is a week where you're closer than you know. You're almost there. And so you're going to have to find that last bit of whatever you need to finish. Something this week is going to occur unexpectedly that is going to require more of you physically. You may be working very hard. And it may be due to, a number of setbacks that you've experienced, some close calls, or maybe, some hard knocks that you've taken. You've been victimized. You've suffered. You've got a bandage around your head. But the most important thing is you are still standing. And once again, you are reassessing your values and your habits. And that's a huge theme for you this month. Looking at what you're doing, what you're getting out of it, what those connections are, where your security lies. Are you being overly cautious in protecting yourself? Is it time to get some support to allow somebody else into your world? Or is it time for you to offer that support? So you're looking at your values and your habits and how you got to this place, why you may be stuck, why there may be a delay or an obstacle, and how you yourself have contributed to that. So you're changing your perspective, and that change is going to be so important in creating the success that you want. This is a period where you really begin to understand how the game is played so that you can develop a better strategy. Because not only do you understand other people and their role, but this understanding of yourself and how you got to be in a certain place is helping you. You're becoming more practical. You're using your common sense. It may be important to close off your emotions so that you can look at something objectively and that doesn't work against you. Now, this may have to do with the future or money. Maybe you're struggling for money, or you're struggling with trying to manifest something that ties to your future. But your mindset is going to be very important, and your openness to possibilities. Now, this could be a week where you're struggling. You're very determined to get some clarity about something. And it's important that you don't, because you've got, a very little strength, it's important that you take it easy this week. You don't get too far ahead of yourself. This is about putting one foot in front of the other. This may not necessarily be the time to have a long-range plan. It's just about getting through the day right now. So for some of you, you're struggling because, again, you're resistant to change. You're blocking the change. There's some fears that are driven by your thinking, that mentality of yours. You know you need to make some changes, and you probably know what they are. And yet you continue to go back to the familiar, the same, the safe, or what you feel is safe, although perhaps it's really not even paying off for you. And that's getting in the way of your progress. You can no longer think about how to get ahead because you can't get past what you've lost or the confusion of a situation, and you're unable to put distance between your feelings and fact. So this is going to be a week where you're going to have to rethink something. And again, maybe you need some clarity. Maybe you're going to get it from this King of Cups. Now, the underlying energy is this Wheel of Fortune. You're taking a risk somehow, and you're going to do an assessment about whether that's paying off for you. Now, maybe this ties to money, travel, the future, a car, maybe even some tires. But this is a risk. You're looking for some kind of change for the better. You want to advance. And there could be some opportunities that come up, that some important developments, some improvements, and they may happen very quickly. So there could be a fortunate turn of events for you. In some cases, you're going to get a lucky break. But you are definitely at the end of a cycle where you're ending one thing and you're starting something new. And perhaps everything changes as a result of that. So you're having to take that fresh perspective and look at something differently. So your attitude, your behavior is part of the process. It's how you got to this spot. This is a very karmic card that says something you have done, something you have said, has created a chain of events. Something that was probably hanging around, some loose end, or something that you were unsure of, something hanging in the balance, is now moving. And which way that is depends on what you've done in that accurate assessment. Now, if you find yourself in a bind financially, this is going to make you buckle down emotionally and get with it. You're going to become very resourceful about moving ahead. And likewise, if there's something emotionally that you're dealing with, you're willing to invest your money, your time, and your energy to get some answers. So you're looking at your choices. You're doing an assessment. You know, where have you closed off? Where have you been too stingy? Where have you been too tight? Where have you been too free? And perhaps the wrong choice ultimately proves to be the right move that gives you the victory of that Nine of Wands. Especially if you're willing to go above and beyond. Maybe you're called to take on more responsibility in whatever capacity, and that's going to give you the success that you seek. So hopefully you're going to take charge and make the changes that you need to make. Now, this could be, again, about trying to establish something, a belief in your own personal dreams, a vision that you have. So things may turn out better than you hoped, especially if you draw on your personal strengths, your talents, your skills to overcome any challenges, to maintain your equilibrium and have some patience for that tide to turn. But in other situations, this is about you doing that assessment to sort out fiction from reality. What is the truth? And you're going to have to get practical. Now, if you've been blocking change, maybe you're closing off to new opportunities. Maybe you're allowing past mistakes to, give you pause. You're afraid because you made the wrong call before. What you don't understand is that there is some luck happening for you. Maybe you're not looking at it. This is about having that sense of gratitude, not looking at what's missing, but what you have. Something may be occurring for you that you consider insignificant, and yet that's helping your cause. So if something didn't turn out your way, that may have helped you in some way. Maybe that was a blessing that you didn't understand. Now, it's important that you're open to good advice, that you don't become impatient or you close off when people suggest something to you or they offer something that is constructive, even if maybe it's a little bit difficult to hear. Because if you close off, you may end up struggling. This is about you having confidence in yourself, in a circumstance, or other people if need be. Because the danger is that you're giving very little credence or stock to a situation, or you're giving it too much, including yourself. Now, this is going to be a month of change where you are trying to close out a cycle. You're tying up some loose ends. You're dealing with things that you have been putting off. It's a karmic period for you. You only have one major card, the Wheel of Fortune. So it's all about, again, taking that risk and making an assessment of whether the gamble is worth it. Now, this card has a strong tie to Jupiter. For Aries, that Jupiter is in the 8th house. So this may have something to do with some joint resources that you share with other people, some intense situations. Maybe these are health issues. It could be some surgery that you're facing, or, some intense health issue. It could be making some deep psychological transformation, maybe even dealing with occult knowledge. So those could be issues, sexuality, intimacy, where you're taking a risk and trying to assess what that investment is worth. You're weighing your options, and perhaps maybe you're spread a little bit too thin in some cases. You may be trying to manipulate your obligations or your finances, or maybe even people. Maybe you are involved with two people. For some of you, there is change perhaps that you're seeking. You want movement. Maybe you need physical movement. Maybe you need to travel. For some of you, this is about a gift that you may receive. But communication is problematic for you this month. Maybe somebody's being irrational or illogical. Remember, again, you could be so close to your own concerns that you lack objectivity. And this is about lasting gains or losses. Now, at issue is this 9 of Wands and King of Cups, the determination of this person or struggling with this person, or those traits. Now, there's a lot of hedonism, a lot of sensual pleasure, but also some sensibility. But you are in a comfort zone where not a lot is happening, and perhaps you're okay with that. So nothing is moving forward, and yet at some point you may feel a lot of pressure to make more of a success of yourself. You may feel that because you have a certain education or knowledge or background that you should be doing more, that you should be better than where you are or further ahead. Maybe you're making some decisions to please other people and you're having to look at that. It could be that you're ignoring your own needs in favor of living up to some kind of projection of what you should be. So that's something for you to consider this month. All right, Aries, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can join me on Patreon to receive extras, or Instagram or my blog for a daily post. And of course, you can always book a personal reading at thealchemistastrologer.com.